I'm okay if this podcast thing, if it only touches 10 people. Like,
That means you checked your heart. You
yes,
checked your
it's all about your heart posture. Like, I really mean that.
Y'all gotta tune in because it's good. It's a good one.
If you can't seem to forgive, you fighting with your pride. I gotta stand on this word and I can't compromise. Only a matter of time before.
What up?
What's
What up,
up?
Fatima, man? Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you, man. How was the traffic on the way here?
Crazy. It's
Like
Friday.
always.
I didn't put it together, but yeah,
Look,
it's crazy.
when you told me you was like, cause what at first you was supposed to come around like 4.
Yeah,
but
I
then
should
you-
have kept 4, but yeah.
Yeah, but then I mean you would have probably been sitting
worse
though.
traffic,
Yeah, you've
yeah.
been sitting. But how's everything going though? How are you? I've been opening the conversation up with like how is people's mental. So like going into this year, how is your mental from like a 1 to 10, 10 being the highest?
You know what? That's a good question. It is what? It's May now. I would
It's
say
crazy how time is flying already.
I would say starting the year, my mental health was I was barely making it. I was at a 2, 3. I was making it. I was surviving, but I wasn't doing well. But it felt like I could say today I feel 10-ish. I'm not saying I'm at a 10 with everything, but my
today,
spirit, I feel at peace. I feel 9.
That's good.
9-ish.
That's good. Everybody that has came on, they talked about where their number is, but then like they talked about where they are now, and it's high. And it's good to hear because the reason why I asked that is because we don't check in on our people.
Yes.
We don't.
How are you?
I'm good.
Okay.
So to be honest, coming into this year, I was good, and then I took a dip, like a mental dip. Like just not the mind games, but it's just like my mind just be messing with me sometimes. Like like we talked about like where I'm from and the area where I'm from. So it's like some of that stuff just be coming into my head sometimes, and I have to like declutter it. You know what I'm saying? So I took a mental dip, but then I start coming back up, and especially just being like just active with keeping myself busy, but not in a bad way though.
Yeah.
I take time to feel what I'm feeling, but then also like you gotta wake up and get, because the world ain't gonna
things.
stop.
Like I feel like when you feel purposeful, it's not even like it's a distraction. It's just more like you feel like you're doing what you're supposed to be, what God has called you to do. So you're not ignoring your pain.
Yeah.
It's just like you're not feeling it because God's showing you who you are,
Exactly.
like beyond your pain.
In the midst of what you're going through, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So I could say where my number is, because I haven't even did, like nobody's asked me. I think Destiny did when we did ours, but I am probably at a strong 8.
That's good.
Yeah, I'm a good strong 8, only because it's a daily walk. You know what I'm saying? Like
I say 10 a day, and I say that like hesitantly because I'm like I could wake up tomorrow.
You know what I'm saying?
It's just ebbs and flows.
Ebbs and flows. Like I get hit all the time, and I'm like, I didn't know I was gonna feel like this. But just with prayer and like just I don't know. I just feel like allowing God to like work on us mentally, physically, spiritually. Like I don't know. I've been tapping more into that, so it has been helping me a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But
How do you do that? Sorry, it's your
I
podcast.
I like to sit up. No, thank you. I don't care. I like to sit alone. I like to be alone sometimes. Like I'm married, but I found the luxury in like I found myself when I was by myself. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people will have a lot of noise around them just to block out who they are. Like I don't even know if I said that right, but it's just
No, that makes sense.
You get what I'm saying? It's just one of those things where like you as a young person, you catch yourself following and not really knowing who you are. Like, so that's what I had to do. I caught myself kind of like bouncing to everybody else's beat, but I wasn't bouncing to mine. I remember I said this before, but my coach was taking me home one day, and because I had a little situation going on, and he had to take me home, and he was like, "Man, Darnell, I see you clap for a lot of people, but it's okay for you to allow them to clap for you sometimes." And I never thought about it until he said that. I never thought about it. I was always like, man, no, like just always pushing for other people, always down to help other people. But when it came to myself, I just put myself on the back burners. And I feel like me doing that, I never got the chance to understand who I was. So sitting with myself, I wouldn't even call it meditating because I don't even know how to meditate. Like just I don't, you know. How
That's
people be
right.
like,
You're probably meditating. You just
That's
don't.
what
It's
it-
just weird calling it that.
yeah, calling it that. But like literally sit out. I go on the rooftop. I'll just go places where I'm just by myself. I remember I was going through this breakup. That's when I really was able to find myself too. Everybody do go through one, right? So anyway, I broke up with my ex, and it was crazy because I never was the person to break up with somebody. It was always breaking up with me. So I was like, I gave her one of these, and I know she probably didn't believe it at the time, but I was like, man, like I really need to get myself together. And at the time, I didn't really know how to word it perfectly, but I was just like, I just need to understand myself. And she was like, no, well, you know, we can work on that together. And I'm like, I didn't have the right words, but I was like, I don't think we can.
Like it wasn't even about her.
It wasn't even about you. And I said the little famous thing, it's not you, it's me. So I was like, man, it's not you, it's me. And she was, you know, that made her, and I'm like, it's really not you, it's really
like you
me.
knew you needed that
I
time.
really had to break it off. So when I broke it off, I was taking myself out to eat. I was going to movies by myself.
I've never done that.
And it's so weird. At the time, it felt so weird. I went to Denny's. That's where I was at by myself. I was at Denny's, and I think I went to probably like Fridays or something like that. But I went to Denny's, and I was sitting there. I'll never forget. I felt so much pressure. I'm like, man, these people over here, they looking at me like. But it wasn't even them. It was me not being comfortable with sitting within my own skin. The movies, you can chill because it's dark, ain't nobody
one's
looking
paying
at you,
attention.
right? So I felt super relaxed there. But when you go out to these public places, you always see somebody sitting next to somebody.
Yes.
So with me, I challenged myself, and I was like, you know what? I want to know myself, and that's what I did. So in the midst of that, here come Destiny. But I didn't have this plan.
Like during that season.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because I already had a little agreement. I said, look, when I get myself together, I told her, I said, I'm coming back to you. I just want you to know.
Oh, to the ex.
To the ex. I'm just trying to get myself together.
And Destiny said,
You feel me? She was somewhere doing her job, doing what she had to do and working on herself. So it happened the way it happened, and I appreciate it. Like I don't regret nothing because I needed to do that to become the person I am now.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? But thank you for asking me.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So like I want to get into it. Like your word is trust. Unpack that. That we deal with that a lot.
Yeah.
As you from Inglewood.
Yeah.
You from LA. I know everybody, y'all from y'all respective cities and places, but LA is very different, and trust is something that don't come by very often. So unpack that.
Trust. I feel like, and you could probably relate to this. You got your people.
Yep.
You trust them.
Facts.
And then opening up yourself. And it's not even that, I love the idea of trusting. And I'll get into like how my relationship with God, you know, open that up. But I think it's like, you don't know what you don't know. Like, I didn't grow up with my dad, for example.
Okay.
And like, I don't know, I seen him navigate in certain ways where I think I'm always looking over my shoulder. Like, I don't even want to put my dad down like that, but you just never know, like, due to what people's true intentions are.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that takes time. And, you know, LA, not only South LA lifestyle, but even LA lifestyle with people moving here for Hollywood purposes and things like that. People are looking for an in, whatever that means. And it's not, now I'm grateful that God has brought me to a level where I have access and influence or whatever. But it's not that I even really had that, but I still felt like, what's your intention? Why do you want to be my friend? And I'm a very friendly person. So I've had lots of friends my whole life, but that inner, you know, it takes some time to qualify that.
Even Jesus had an inner circle.
Exactly.
That was crazy when I learned that. I said, I thought the 12 disciples was his people. It was like, nah. That number dwindled down.
And I found myself, even as I got closer to God, like, oh, you believe in Jesus? We believe in Jesus. So then I was like, everyone could be in this inner circle because we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
And then I was met with like, just over time, like deception. I still don't know what to do with that. That's why trust is my word, because I've been deceived by people.
Yeah. And that right there, and it's like I said, trust don't come by like very easily. And that's why you'll like people will place things on you like, oh, you shut off, or you're not open to people. Like I used to get that a lot. Like even Destiny, like people be like, oh, she's not open, and I'm like, no, she's actually a good person. She likes to laugh. She likes to do a lot of things, but getting past that trust barrier is the toughest one.
Or like even dating.
Yes,
Yeah.
no, not just, yes, dating, but like I'm just talking about like people that from the outside, like my friends, right? And I'll introduce her to them, and they like, oh no, she cool, but like you can tell she is like, this is where it stops. You know
Yes.
what I'm saying? And me and her just recently had a conversation about that. Like, and I told her, I said, you know what, it's okay though, because at the same time, that's how you guard yourself. Like,
And she probably is even, I noticed like with couples, she's probably brought in your life to help your guard too.
Yep.
And you are helping her open up.
On
So that's
everything.
the balance. It's like, hey, like I know you're guarded because you're looking out for me, you're looking out for yourself, but this person, it's okay.
Yeah.
And then and she might be like, okay, I know you're so trusting of this person, but I'm catching things you're not catching.
Exactly.
You know what
And
I
that's
mean?
exactly what happens though. Like she catch stuff that that I don't catch, and vice versa. And like at first I used to fight it because I'm like, no, you don't see how I see it. Like
yeah, I'm more like you sometimes.
this
Yeah.
person is cool.
Yeah.
And she like, I don't know, you know what I'm saying? But it works out well. Like, even though you might have a little strong, I guess points. Sometimes we can be strong and wrong too. But it works out. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But no, the trust thing is very it's like I told her though, it's good to have because it's like trust can go a long way when it's with the
Yes,
right people.
With the right people. And I think qualifying who to trust is like, that's my journey. That's why trust is my word. Because I'm like, even though growing up, I was always guarded dating. Always very guarded dating. So I thought I was like, I had wise judgment because I didn't just let anybody in. But when it came to friendships, I was more like, you know why? Because I'm very friendly, but I'm not that intimate sometimes with friendships.
Yeah.
Like I might have, which I don't think is a bad thing. I might have one or two people that I'm like, you know me.
Locked
like, you know
in.
my flaws, you know, all that.
Yeah.
But I realized I know how to keep a lot of people. They'll think they're my best friend. That's what I have to work on. That's what I have to work
She
on.
said,
I'm
"I'll let
like,
you in, but you
I'm like, but you don't really know. You won't know these things. And while that's good, I think God, I think he always wants more, right? He always wants more from us towards him. So I think trusting God in certain areas, that's been an ongoing journey for me. Because of course God is God, right?
Yeah.
But then God will put me in situations and test it out and be like, you don't really trust me in this area.
Exactly.
Like, this is an area we got to unpack. And so the word, even that goes along with trust, is like surrender. Because when you fully trust God, you're going to surrender over to whatever he has for you.
Yeah.
And I feel like God's doing in my life in like segments. So like when it came to my career, that's a long story. That could be a whole podcast, but I put a lot of pressure on myself to be successful. Went to college, got an economics degree. I was like, I'm about to be in corporate America, just climbing the ladder. And then I hated my first corporate job. And like everything I had built, I'm only 21, but everything I had thought I built was crumbling. Like the job I wanted, I got sexually harassed at that job, causing more trust issues. And the job wasn't working out. And I felt like God just put my career at a standstill. And he said, what are you doing this for? Like, why are you even trying to be successful? And then he reordered my steps so that it was now like built on him. Like my career, the foundation was like, you want success so you feel good, so you get accolades, so your family's proud of you, but I'm gonna build it in a way that it's from me and it has purpose associated with it. So he took me from corporate America to the entertainment world and just shifted it. But when he shifted it, I went through years of unemployment. That whole process was like God going, I'm building your trust. You don't believe I'm gonna do what I'm about to do. And I'm like, God. So I tried to do all these things myself to the point where I was like, you know what, God, you got my career. Like, I'm done. Like, I trust you. And like, I could get into that, but I'm a producer today, praise the Lord.
Yeah.
And I never would have thought I'd be a TV producer. Like, that just seemed like, I went to school for economics. How did I land here? But when you give God something, he will and put your full trust in him, he'll take you to places you never
Yeah.
thought. So I'm like, okay, God, I trusted you there. Now he's like starting to open up other areas where, okay, you good over here, but
it's another level that you got to unlock. And that's why they say with new levels come new devils or whatever. It's like, think about it. The higher we go, I said this before too, but the higher we go, the thinner, the harder it is to breathe.
yes.
Right? The altitude is like,
That's why I be struggling
You
to
know,
read these. Yeah.
bruh. So like that, it's hard. It's easier said than done, right? It's just like, okay, I'm on a new level, this and this and that.
And to say these quotes, like, I trust God. God's my number one. But he's like, let me put you to the test. Do you trust me?
Facts.
And so I'll just say, for example, like friendships, I feel like they're being redefined. I have solid people in my life, and I'm grateful for that.
Yeah.
But I've also experienced like recent deception with people. And I'm like, but like what they showed me in the beginning, right? And God's like, because you trusted yourself, but you didn't trust, you didn't really lean in on what I'm showing you.
What
So
I
now
was
I'm like,
trying to
okay,
say.
now this is a new area.
Yeah.
Like, just like my career, this is a new area. I'm like, I feel like I've been burned by a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I'm not used to getting burned like that.
Yeah.
Like, or like, I don't know how to explain it.
no,
Like,
I feel you.
and I'm like, oh.
You thought you was more, like how you said, you thought you was more, like, not like that, but you thought you was smarter than that. Like, I would have caught that.
Yeah, I would have caught
Yeah.
that. And I have a lot of empathy though.
Yeah.
And empathy has to be given to God too, because empathy could be like your own self. Like I see someone crying on the street, I'm gonna stop, but that doesn't mean that's my assignment to stop and care for that person. That person might be scheming. You know what I mean?
Facts.
Doesn't mean I won't still stop for someone crying. You know, like
Yeah,
it's part
yeah.
of my nature, but I'm still, now God's like, okay, I want to use your empathy for good.
Yeah.
You have to now put that in my hands and trust me with how I'm gonna use you. So I
Yeah.
think, trust. I'm like, I'm grateful to God because I feel like when you lose trust in people, you could become very bitter and
Oh, yeah.
very, very skeptical. I feel like, I won't say I'm bitter, but I'm like a little paranoid. So I'm trying to get past my paranoid stage.
Trust comes with, like, if you don't trust, it's just like in the streets. If you don't trust the person that is standing next to you that is supposed to be your dog, you gonna be paranoid because you don't know when the day is gonna come.
You need someone to have your back.
You know what I'm saying? And when you can trust that person, it's like how you said, it's surrender. It's like when you can trust that person, it's kind of like, okay, cool. Because I can just focus right here. Somebody else got that. And that's like what you just said with God. Like, God is like, I'm trying to have, like, I'm your safety net. I just want you to know that. You know what I'm saying? But like how you said, it trickles in, and it trickles in with fear as well. It's like, okay, you say, for instance, you say you trust God in this section, but then also, like how you say, you move on to another section, that is a new level of trust, and now you feel like you starting back at level 1. And it's like, but I thought
Because I know God is the God of,
you know what I'm saying?
like we already proved,
Like,
I proved, like we're here.
I thought we did that. Like, I thought
Yeah.
we was good. But like how you said, each and every time I think it's just strengthening us.
It's strengthening us. And it's like, okay, right. Maybe God made it easy for me for a second because he's like, there was like this grace over it where it's like, right now, I just need you concentrating on your purpose and your career. And I'm just going to send the right people for that. And now I feel like what God has been showing me is like, he's transitioning me into more ministry type stuff.
Yeah.
And he's showing me everyone can't go. Everyone can't just be like, and when I say that, we're called to minister to anybody, right?
Yeah.
But it's also knowing who's playing you. Some people are playing
Facts.
you for your time. They're not even receiving what you have to say. They're just playing you for access, or they're playing
That
you
part.
for your, oh, she's going to be real empathetic about this, and then I'm going to be able to get
They
her.
pulling your heartstrings.
Pulling my heartstrings.
And you know what's crazy? I was talking to a friend of mine, Brian. He was talking about, I don't know where this at in the Bible, but he was telling me about it. He was basically saying, like, at one point, he's talking about discipleship and how at one point it was like 70 people following Jesus. And he was like, Jesus got mad and was like, what are y'all here for? So the fact that, and
Ooh, yeah.
so the fact
Ooh,
that
that's good.
the fact that you said that, like, everybody can't go, that's a true statement, because when it's too many people, you can't even fathom what the person's true intent is, why they're there.
No, and that's how snakes get in your
Come
circle.
on, man. When
That's
you got
how-
high grass.
Come on.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, seriously.
You know what I'm saying?
And I think we live in a world now where like even everything is about, oh, I was just talking about this. Everything is about growth. And like, I don't want my reason for like teaching the word of God to be rooted in growth. I want it to be rooted in touching whatever heart God has me to touch.
Exactly.
Not just, ooh, my ministry's popping. Like,
Expansion.
is that
Everything
really
is-
serving God, or is that
Yes.
serving? It's almost like treating like your purpose like a business where you're just trying to, gain.
You trying to gain,
I'm
yeah.
not, if I really have a heart, and that's why I know God is working on my heart, you have to have pure intentions. You have to have a pure heart.
Yep.
So I think God is slowing me down to pay attention and to learn like, because discipleship is so important, and to learn like who, when, why, and where. And that requires like trusting him more so that he can like make that clear to you, like who is supposed to be, because I just would be like, no one's that bad. Like if they want to learn about God or if this person, but you'd be surprised. I mean, I was surprised. I'm like, sometimes you got to get burned to learn.
Yeah.
That's what happened with my career.
And the crazy part, you talked about growth, like people have that like, oh, expand, I want to do this. Like when I thought about creating Through Our Lens podcast, I remember it was like, I forgot when I created it, but I thought to myself, I said, okay, I got to have a why. Like, why do I want to do this, right? So I was literally sitting down on the floor, and I'm just like, okay, I don't want to do it because I'm so used to being behind the camera. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, okay, I don't want to do it because it's uncomfortable, but God don't want me to be comfortable, so I have to be uncomfortable. But then I was just like, okay, why am I doing this? Like, why and who am I doing this for? And I was like, okay, I didn't even have a name. It came to me. It was like Through Our Lens, and I was like, okay, what about it? And it was just, all right, well, you'll talk to people and it'll be through their perspective. Whatever y'all talk about, it'll just be through their perspective. Because I could have did something where it's just me and the camera talking and lecturing, doing the typical stuff, and then wanting to gain stuff, gain followers, gain all this stuff. So I was talking to a person probably like a couple of months ago, and they were talking about expansion and they were doing this. And I was just like, well, you know what? I'm okay if this podcast thing, if it only touches 10 people. Like,
that means you checked your heart.
Yes,
You checked your,
it's all about your heart posture. Like, I really mean that. Like, if this conversation touches one person in the world and it helps them change wherever trajectory that they're going down,
it's worth it.
That will be okay, because it's not gonna bring me anything, because I'm probably not gonna ever meet them, but it'll look good in God's eyes.
Yeah, getting points in the kingdom.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yep.
in my eyes, it was like how you said, surrender. I literally was telling Destiny about this. Like, you got it. When you talk about surrender, let's get into that. I had to surrender, like, me, and matter of fact, because I'm a part of this men's group, and we were talking about surrender, and like something that like was really on me was like, you need to surrender everything. So I surrendered my marriage.
Wow.
Mind you, we just hit a year. And I even,
Congrats.
you know what I'm saying? Thank you. I appreciate that. But I was just like, I'm surrendering Destiny. I'm surrendering photography. I'm surrendering peer space. I'm surrendering this podcast, because
That's so good.
whatever you got for me, that's what I want. Because you see, whenever we try to do it ourselves, it's you talked about this. You talked about moving on your own, like leaning on your own understanding. But then when you start leaning towards God, he kind of gave you a different, not a platform, but a different foundation. His foundation is firm. So I done seen people fall flat on their face.
Trying to rise too high without the right.
Trying to do it their way, and it's because they, like how you
They
said,
said greater the fall, like rising up without the firm foundation.
Exactly.
Yep.
So exactly, you know what I'm saying? I feel like checking yourself at the front door is so important. So that's why I feel like that's why I did this. And like, I remember one time when I was in high school, this dude told me, he was like, you don't be the example, learn from the example, learn from other examples. So that's what I've been doing. So like I said, I done watch people fall flat on their face because they moving and operating. And the crazy part is, it won't get you now. So you might think you good. You might think you rolling, oh yeah, boom, boom, boom. But then when it catch up to you, like how you said, that fall's gonna be, you feel me? And it's gonna hurt. You know what I'm saying? But the crazy part is that even within that fall, you still got grace.
Oh, I was just about to say that. I was like, because I feel like I went through that recently. Like, just kind of making decisions based upon my own understanding,
Right.
which we know
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
not the way to
Yeah,
move.
yeah.
But it was an area I needed to give over to God that
Yeah.
I had not given over to God yet. And I did fall, and I describe it as like I fell, but I fell gracefully.
Yep.
So even though I fell, like I
Yeah.
didn't, you know, God's grace allowed me to not be like completely harmed, and just I'm wiser because of it.
Yeah.
I'm bruised, I'm
Yeah.
scarred,
Yep.
like from the fall, but it's still a scar that's a story that I
Yes.
could be like, okay, let me tell you about
And
this.
I'm letting you know that now, like you don't look like what you've been through.
Amen.
So that's the thing. That's the grace. Like and even we may look at it as like, man, why I just had so many things going on, but God is saving us. Because this me and Destiny was talking about this, like we can if we let's in street terms, right? We driving down Wilshire. He can see around the corner. We can't. We just can see the street that we own. So that's why he saves us a couple of times. Because right before we about to make that left, he like, no.
Let me just, because I know it's coming, especially when your heart is towards God.
Yeah.
It's different when you are 100% rebellious.
Yeah.
You might fall 100 times until prayerfully,
Yeah.
some people don't, but prayerfully something hits you.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's so damaging the way people have to fall to learn. Sadly, I'm like, God, I learned.
Yeah.
I ain't trying to fall like this again.
You
know
got
what
me
I'm
once.
saying? And then,
For
and it's
real.
also because our hearts are towards God that
Yeah.
it's like, God, teach me. Like, why am I like this? Why am I struggling with this?
Yep.
Like, you're not hiding those areas from God. Although you may have gone a long time in your life hiding it, it's like maybe that situation opened you up to go, God, you know what? I have
Yeah.
never really opened up this area to you. Okay, now let's do the work.
Man,
Like,
it was so many things that had happened like when I was younger, and my mom used to always say like warning comes before destruction. So I used
What
to
comes before?
warning comes
Warning,
before, yeah, so warning comes before destruction. And mind you, I'm still doing what I'm doing. So like how you talk about being rebellious, I was like, that's cool. Until I start for real, until I start seeing it really happen. And I was like, oh, okay, warning comes before destruction. So just to be like transparent and just open, it was just like people that I knew close was getting killed. Like, you know what I'm saying? And it didn't dawn on me. I'm like, dang, dog, like that's cold. But it didn't register like warning comes before destruction. You feel me? All the way until, like I was telling you before we cut these cameras on, was that I knew a dude named Darnell, same name. And I had said what's up. I was walking down my street. I said what's up to him. He was sitting in the car. I go into my apartment building, close the door. All I hear is pow, 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 pow. And I'm thinking, I didn't think it was that. But on my street, that happens all the time. So it was kind of like I was like I was used to it. So I'm like, oh, that's somebody probably, because the way it sounded like snapping. But it sounded, I ain't gonna lie to you, the best description was like somebody like on a skateboard and like slamming the skateboard on the ground. So it was like a cracking sound. So I'm like, oh, that's somebody, whatever, they close by the door or something like that. But then I was like, I don't know, something told me to go outside. I went outside and it was him. They shot him 5 times.
and you saw it. You were
No, I was,
like, you saw the aftermath.
yes, the aftermath. Like it was crazy. You feel me? It was crazy.
Like
So
that was enough to.
that still didn't catch me until, like I said, God had to slow me down. Like I was getting chased, and then I was in the bush. It's funny now, but I was in the bushes, and me and my
It's
homie,
not funny.
It's
Now
not
you
funny,
making me laugh.
but it's funny to me because I lived through it. But I was in the bushes, and my homie, I remember like it was yesterday. My homie told me, he was like, "Bro, we about to die," and I was like, I looked at him, I was like, "No, we not." I don't know why, because
Something rose up in you, like-
it's something about agreement. And I didn't know that either though back then, but it's something about agreement, like being in agreement with something.
Life and death is in the
Power of your tongue. So I looked at him and I was like, no, we not. And it's crazy because they stopped right in front of the bushes. And I was like, and mind you, we was in somebody's
Ooh, that
bushes.
just gave me heart palpitations.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so it was somebody's porch. They had all they thank God they had all they porch lights cut off. We was on a porch behind thick bushes, and the car rolled up right in front of the house. But it's like you got the front yard, but then you got the bushes. We was right behind the bushes. Ain't nothing blocking us. Ain't no cement right there. And we can see them. They couldn't see us, but we was looking. He was like, bro, we about to die. And I'm like, no, we not. And when I went home that night, I started doing some thinking. I was just like, warning
It was
come
too
before.
close caught.
Too
It was
close,
to
you
the
know,
call.
because even in that same, this is a long story, but even in that same week, something else had happened, and I'll tell you about that later on in life. But that right there, I was like, oh no, warning come, because it started getting closer and closer and closer and closer, and I'm like how you said, like, man, I'm smart, like I ain't gonna run into that. No, because
And
he thought the same thing.
It's crazy too, because you think you just be smarter than that. You know how we said that? Like, I'm smarter
Yeah,
than
I'm
that.
smarter than that.
But someone has said this, like, there's two different thoughts I'm thinking right now. Like, if you allow any sin in your life, your heart becomes harder.
Yeah.
Even if it's the smallest sin. So things that you wouldn't tolerate or wouldn't, whatever, become more tolerable.
Yeah.
Which means God's voice is also becoming not as loud.
It's
So
it's
I
crazy.
think even as you're talking about warning, I think that God's warnings could be very loud.
Loud, for sure.
If our hearts are there and we're letting go of, and when I say sin, it's any rebelliousness.
Yeah.
If you're like letting go, like no. But the little bit more rebellious you get, it's like his warnings are more like,
Yeah, you can push him to the
You
back.
push him to the back because it's like it's not that loud, and God's like, you know, what they say, his voice is like what is this? Still small voice.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to make yourself available to it. So
To
I think
hear
in
it.
my recent fall, there was this that I was just kind of like,
The little whisper, yeah.
I don't know if that's really God. Da, 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 da. But and God's like, okay, like I'm giving you that. You're gonna have to fall. Just because, and I'm grateful. Some people don't fall. God falls are the grace of God, because it could go a whole nother route. Like, thank God I fell in this particular instance or whatever instance.
In the way you did, yeah.
Because it's like, I have the heart to want to learn not to fall like this again.
Yeah,
You know what I
most
mean?
definitely.
So, because some people, like I said, it takes them over and over.
Over
go
and
around the
over.
mountain, and God will let you.
Mm-hmm.
But
And
then it's like, you got to be tired enough of it.
you got to, you know what I'm saying? But that just goes back to what you said, like everybody can't go. And then also trying to help people, we got to know when, like, we can.
That has to be submitted to God, because it sounds noble.
Yeah.
Like, I have a heart to help people. Like,
yeah.
a lot of people have that heart that do some crazy stuff. You know what I mean? It's like, it could be an ego boost too. Like, I
Yep.
helped get this person off the streets. Was that really God's assignment for you?
Exactly.
And did you just help them get food? What if God really called you to do even more, like to help their spirit to do that? But
Yep.
you're just so in your ego or what you think, pride, flesh, that you're not trusting what I'm trying to do. So I just think, like, right now when it comes to people I serve, people who are supposed to mentor me,
Right.
people that are friends, I'm now surrendering them to Christ. I'm just like, God, take people. I've given you my career before. Now I'm like in a place of like, I want to be genuine too. That's another, I'm like, there's so many words we could have talked
Yeah.
about, but like, I want to be a person of integrity where it's
That part.
like, I'm the same person no matter, I'm not changing up on people because it's like, oh, I got to move this way. It's like, God, I want to be a person of integrity. So show me who to be around so I could truly be me
Yep.
at all times.
And that's the
You know?
thing. I remember it was on Destiny's birthday. I think it was last year. We were at the Malibu winery thing, and I think we was just reflecting. Like, I was asking her, like, how did she feel becoming a new year? You know, her birthday and stuff like that. And then we was a little tipsy, so she started talking to me, and she was just like, Darnell, you know what? And I'm like, Destiny, it's your birthday. Like, let's talk about you. But she was like, no, Darnell. She was like, I really do got to say something to you. Like, you don't code switch. You don't like, far as like code switching.
Yeah, I be
But-
code switching. So anyway.
But she was talking about integrity, and in the streets, integrity is everything. You know what I'm saying? So like, being a real nigga is everything. So it's just like integrity. Like you gotta be you when
No matter what.
Yes, when you walk out of there, because they tell you all the time, like, you your true self when you by yourself.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So like, I try to do that everywhere I go. Like, even she was laughing at me because I was on the phone talking to her mentor, and she was just like, Darnell, you like, what up? Oh, what's up? What's going on? And I'm like, I be thinking I be trying to like sound more like appropriate, but like, I don't know. She be like, nah, Darnell, you just be sounding how you sound. But like, she was like, I love that because you don't have to change for nobody. Like whatever room you walk into, you just be you.
That's admirable because I still feel like in corporate settings, I can't necessarily talk how I talk,
how you want to.
How I want to talk.
But I can understand that for sure.
So it is hard, but then that's even a larger issue of like, I think times are changing and it's like they see the value in just being authentic. Like if even people I feel like corporations are starting to learn that their Black employees are actually code switching.
Come on, man.
And it's like, when you learn someone's being fake with you, that makes you uncomfortable. Like you don't feel like you could be your real self in this environment. So I think cultures are starting to change, but that is admirable. Like you could just be your full authentic self. And I think like even the word, like God took me on a whole study about integrity. Like even that word means to be integrated, which means you're one, you're whole. When you're not integrated, you're divided, which is not how God wants us to be. He wants us to be fully healed and whole. That's the goal. So when you're divided, you just feel uncomfortable in your own skin. Like I'm a little bit of this, I'm a little bit of that. And I feel like God's been working on my integrity. So with people, instead of being this people pleaser I once was, that's a lack of integrity. Being a people pleaser is not of God at all. Like there's a scripture that says, to please man, you are not a servant of Christ. That hit me.
That's crazy.
I'm like, you're just not. So like I'm denying God to please people. That just sounds stupid.
It puts you in a real messed up situation. I remember my first time, the first time I ever went to one church. I remember not the first time, but like a couple of times I'm like, because I started liking it, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna just keep coming. So I kept going, and I remember I came home one day, and I think at this time I was serving, so I was like taking photos. And I came home and I closed the door in my room and I looked and I was like, I'm talking about what I had on, everything. I was like, I am not being myself.
Who I really am.
And it was so weird to me. I'm like, hold on, like, and I wouldn't even say it crept up on me. It just happened. Like I just felt like I wasn't being myself, and I felt like it was like that self-correction because nobody taught me be you. It was just always like you seen it, people being them. Like they are just them. You know what I'm saying? So
because there's no shame.
It ain't no shame in who you are. Like if you got a limp or it's just like no, that's him. And if he accepted, you gotta accept it. So I just was like, hold on. So when I felt something off, I literally took off all I said no. I said this ain't me. And I literally stopped myself because I don't know where I was going. I don't know what was happening in the inside. Maybe it was me like because before I met Destiny, I wasn't going to church. I was like not, so maybe it was just me going into a new place. And like how you said, when you were in a corporate setting or any other setting, you tend to like lean toward whatever everybody else is doing. And I felt like whatever one church had was good, whatever it felt good, but I felt like I was thinking that I was supposed to be like whoever was in the church, like, oh man, like if they are energetic or whatever, I gotta be like that. And I'm like, no, like God gonna meet me exactly where I'm at.
Yeah, like your unique voice, I'm enjoying this podcast, like your unique approach of interviewing is that God needs you to be just like that. And there are ways like, because I think sometimes when people say be yourself, like getting close to God, you realize there were parts of you that were not yourself anyway. Exactly. So you start shedding off stuff that's like, dang, maybe I was too caught up in materialism. I really could care less, or I was too, what is that? So you start questioning things that you may have been doing since you were a child. Fact. That really isn't the real you. Yeah. It's just familiar. Yeah. So I think I'm just on that journey, even with how I move with people. There's a familiar way I move with people. I'm not good at like being really direct and like strict like with people, but now God is calling me to be that way.
Help you, in that area.
And I'm like, this is weird. I don't like to let people down, but okay, God, if you said no. If you said don't trust this person, believe him the first time. Yeah. Like God doesn't have to prove to me why someone's not trustworthy or something. Believe him. Just believe him. Mm-hmm. Make it simple on yourself. Yep. So trust for me is in the area of people. Yeah. And I'm grateful I have good people in my life.
And that's good because then, like, even in the Bible, it talks about, I don't know if verbatim, but it talks about how what is wisdom and wise counsel? Mm-hmm. Yes.
Wise counsel. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when you get around people that is, for one, is out for your best interest, and loves you unconditionally, you always gonna feel covered and stuff like that. So I'm glad that you have that. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people don't.
I know.
A lot of
I'm
people
like,
don't.
it's rare. So let me just hold on to what I have and let God, because I know He's going to expand my territory.
Yes, He is.
But allow Him to do it. And I'm excited.
No, you should be. So lastly, like I want you to talk to a person that is dealing with trust. Like what is one thing that you can say to help them? They might be way young. You know, they probably don't even know how to navigate trust. They don't even know, you know, they probably just walking into it. But what would you say to that person?
I would say read Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him and He will make your path straight. I say learn to trust in God first, because people are people. People aren't always trustworthy, but that doesn't mean there's no grace for them. That doesn't mean be extra guarded when someone lets you down. I think when you're operating in God, you'll start seeing when to completely shut a door with people and who to like build with and who to trust. So I would say learn that first key relationship. Trust God. Let Him come into the areas where you were broken, where you felt like you couldn't trust. Go back to your history, who let you down in the past. Explore those areas and give them over to God, just like you talked about.
Yeah.
Surrender those things to God, and I think He'll order your steps, and you'll start realizing, wow, there are people that God has highlighted I can trust. And let that happen slowly. Don't try to rush into to that process.
Something came into my head when you were talking. What about the person that isn't privy to the Bible? What if they don't? It sound pretty. It sound pretty like believe in God, right? But like, what is one thing that you can do is speak to a person that isn't privy to it.
That isn't privy, that's struggling with trust?
Yeah, that's struggling with trust, but like the Bible is not their first alternative. Yeah.
I would say that's a good question, because if they find one person, therapy, honestly, because the word, just like you said, you got alone, and then you were able to invite a relationship that's now your wife into your life. I say start exploring the why. Why don't I trust? I would say start there, and then you know things will come up in your history. And then dive into what characteristics of that person, what happened, whatever. And you'll be able to even define for yourself what's untrustworthy. And then start slowly evaluating what does trustworthy mean to you? Like what would actually, even if you had to make up that person or that friend in your head, what qualities will they need to have? And then when you start meeting people and they don't measure up, don't let those people in your life. That's what I would say.
That's good.
That was Jesus. Come on.
I appreciate that. Thank you for coming through. I really, truly appreciate it.
This was good.
It was, man. It flowed perfectly.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Faith without work is dead. We know that. You know what I mean? So you physically have to do things for faith to activate.
You people pleasing and giving peace to the wrong stuff. Come boss up, yeah.
If you don't learn to forgive, it's gonna make you even more bitter, and it's gonna put you in a more dark space, because it's not about them, it's about you.
Through our lens, how I see it, baby. We took our time to build this situation.
You need people to remind you, like sometimes when God has shown up, because fear will distort your way of thinking.
All right, bro, so tell me, what is through our lens?
Through our lens is past photography. It's past anything that has to do with a cameraman. It's actually how we live life, bro. How everybody has a perspective.